Welcome viewers. Today is the last quality focus area for accountability and governance of the RTO Standards 2025. Following this, I will touch upon the three schedules in my next vlog. So let's start with this quality area for governance and accountability. This quality area 4 is both it focuses and emphasizes on not only the wet quality of its operations, but also student protection and safety and well-being area too. The standard is designed to ensure effective governance and continuous improvement through focusing upon the leadership, accountability, risk management, and quality improvement. It relates to all the staff, including the directors if there are directors, or the board is there to look after RTO operations, the CEO, the senior management, including RTO manager, and even the trainers and assessors as well, apart from the staff related to data reporting and compliance matters. So let's start with today's chapter. The first standard 4.1 under this quality outcome is related to NVR registered training organizations, or simply RTOs, to operate with integrity and maintain accountability for delivering of quality services. The performance indicators include organization and its governing persons being fit and proper, the details of which we will cover in the schedules in the next vlog, and that the governing persons are suitable to oversee the RTO operations. Governing persons must act diligently and uphold compliance regardless of any cultural differences. So ensure culture of fairness, transparencies, and integrity. Moving on, still the standard 4.1, but its performance indicators C and D, they are relating to governing persons acting diligently and making informed decisions to facilitate compliance. And D is concerning governing persons lead a culture of integrity and fairness and transparencies in organizations' operations. So fit and proper person is the one who will be involved in the roles of leadership, accountability, risk management, and quality improvement areas. We often refer they must act as under the section 185 of the Act. Now let me clarify what this Act is all about. Section 185 of the National Vocational Education and Training Regulator Act 2011 demands number one, compliance with the standards of RTOs, which are commonly also referred to as SRTOs, or standards for the registered training organization. The current ones are, for instance, 2015, but from 1st of July they will be 2025 standards that we must adhere to, or the RTOs must adhere to. The second of the demand of this section 185 is compliance with the Australian Qualification Framework, or AQF, popularly known as. Now this matter relates to issuance of AQF qualifications, use of AQF logo, and adherence to delivery of AQF courses as they are viewable on the TGA site. In other words, meeting their components such as the units the core and elective units. And once you have selected those as per the training package rules, you adhere to each unit's performance criterias and performance evidences, knowledge evidences, and assessment conditions. The number 3 is compliance with data provision requirements, such as a wet mess, and there are many approved softwares that RTOs now can use, such as WiseNet or WetTrack, which helps you even complete the wet mess reporting requirement of ESQA timely. Rather, they have kind of built-in system to do so. The the next one is financial viability and assurance. So whether your RTO is receiving government funding or not, or is able to provide or act on behalf of government in extending student loans to the learners, in any case, regardless whether you are receiving any sort of funds or not, you must have your operations in a way that they are sustainable. In other words, if you feel there are financial risks, do not let these risks pass on to your students and staff. So timely take actions. So in other words, keep doing your financial risk assessments and act accordingly and timely to keep your students, staff, and your organization safe from any bankruptcy or other unfortunate happenings. Fit and proper person requirements, as I mentioned, we will do more details on it in our the next vlog related to, because these are covered primarily in detail in the schedules 1, 2, and the 3, which is related to repealing of 2015 from the 1st of July this year. Compliance, the final one is compliance with audit and regulatory directions. In other words, when there are audits or when there are reporting requirements by any regulatory authority, regardless it is ESQA or SkillFirst or whatever, RTOs must cooperate with them. Only then we are in a position to safely claim that we are compliant or adhering to the section 185 of the Act 2011 of National Vocational Education and Training. The next standard 4.2 is related to roles and responsibilities of NVR registered training organizations, staff, and third parties, and they must be clearly defined and understood. In other words, we should have clear policies, or RTOs must have clear policies regarding the third parties, regarding the staff that they are employing, about their roles and their job descriptions, in other words, to perform in the RTOs. The performance indicators A and B includes that it supports staff members to understand the component of these standards. So in other words, it helps them keep updated with whatever changes are there in the regulatory environment, and also how they can keep adhering to the new changed regulatory orders, such as now going to be soon RTO Standards 2025. It must also inform staff members about any legislative requirements if they affect organizations' delivery of services. Like in this case, the new RTO standards, RTOs would be required to be very, very student focused towards their well-being and safety. Let me further stress on the job description. Typically, RTOs do have, some position descriptions, but they do not specify uh, much details and try to cover under the clause that and any other role or duties as required or suggested by the management. Now, this clause does, to certain extent, cover later responsibilities or duties to be assigned to the recruiting person. However, the more the job description is clear, articulated, well defined, the more the person who is recruited will be in a position to prepare him or herself to perform those job responsibilities. So the more clearer you are, the better it will be for the RTO as well as for the persons who are employed. Moving on to the section C and D, or rather performance indicators C and D of the previous standard that we are discussing, where C it requires a system to be in place for ensuring any third parties meet requirements of these standards and any other compliance requirements made under section 185 of the Act. Whereas section D is again about the roles and responsibilities of the persons engaged by organizations are well understood and documented, ensuring accountable decision making. Now, there are many RTOs which engage third parties, and there are many who does not engage any third party. So those who do not engage are safer in this matter, but those who do engage third parties, whether it is regarding student enrollments or delivery at third parties' premises, having more or better facilities for their students, they must ensure that the agreement they have signed with them have transparency and details that make them aware of their responsibilities and actions as far as compliance to 2025 standards are concerned. However, having said that, remember that no matter what, the ultimate responsibility of compliance will remain on the RTO. So do ensure that whichever third party you are selecting understands that, and you also understand that they are going to be operating on your behalf. So the better you train them, make them aware of their responsibilities, the better it will be for the RTOs. Regarding the section D, sometime RTOs engage contractors for one reason or another. Even in this case, they need to ensure that the contractor does understand, or contractors does understand in detail their responsibilities, those have been assigned or for which they have been contracted. Whether it is validation or external audits or whatever purposes. Next, standard 4.3 is related to risks to wet students, staff, and organization. So these must be identified and addressed. So the performance indicator A and B are relating to identifying such things, and the managers are supposed to review these risks, especially to the wet students and also the staff and the organization. And also to look into the financial positions or performance, how the cash flows are going for the organization. As mentioned earlier, that any risks, financial risks to RTO means ultimately risks to the students. If RTO closes down, the students are the one who are going to be also severely impacted. So getting transferred to another RTOs, another learning environment, all that. So these can be if not completely eliminated, can be mitigated to quite an extent if we have proper analysis and continuing monitoring of the financial performance of the RTOs. Um, Having covered that, what I would say that risks, let me give you a few examples concerning risks to vet students. For example, this is also a risk that student, one or more, are unable to complete their assessments on time. So maybe because of the number of students in the classroom, so trainer may not be having sufficient time to devote one-on-one attention. But for whatever reasons, if the student is not keeping up to date as far as assessment submissions are concerned, sorry, the management responsibility is to assign mentors to improve students' engagement strategies. So must track completion data on monthly basis to adjust support program to help students to be up to date. Risks to the staff is also there. That can be high trainers turnover, and this is generally happening because generally the trainers who are also the assessors, they are only paid for the hours for training in the classroom. Nothing is generally given or is avoided to provide them the time they spent in preparing or marking the assessments, because of which they are at whenever they get opportunity, they opt for another organization. So this is something management need to must take care of, because if the trainer leaves right in the middle of, the students suffer the most, because they get used to, if especially the trainer is a good one, to the teaching style or training style of them, and a new trainer may have a different way. So it's a student who takes time to adapt or adjust, and may even suffer during this process. So it is advised to the management that if they can cap the responsibilities or time of the trainers and assessors, and give them a reasonable and not over and above reasonable amount of workload, the better it will be for the RTOs, for the trainers, and for the students. The third risk that we mentioned in 4.3 performance indicator A was the risks to the organization. For example, organization can have a non-compliance meta with keeping themselves updated with these coming, for instance, standards 2025. Now, in this particular meta, what management can do is recruiting a contractor, a consultant who is well versed, has a lot of experience in RTO standards and is well versed in the 2025, who can perform an internal audit, completely maintaining impartiality and integrity, and can provide the outcome of the internal audit to the senior management, who then can take appropriate and timely measures to adjust to the changes required to remain compliant. It's better to get identified such non-compliances prior to ESCO or any other regulatory authorities, or such as Skill First, then to be identified by them, in which case the RTO will have limited options such as facing breaches or fines. Having said that, let's move on to the next performance indicator C and D of the same outcome 4.3 that we were talking about. It has a system. C is about having a system for identifying, managing, and disclosing any real or apparent conflict of interests. that can be, let me come back to it after explaining a little bit about D, where it offers training or assessment towards students under the age of 18. Because under the age of 18 is both child and youth section. So you RTOs need to be more vigilant in this area, because more regulations are applied to look after their safety and well-being. So going back to C, which is identifying or disclosing any real or apparent conflict of interest, there can be, for instance, governance and operation matters. So for instance, in the board of directors, for example, if there is a director who is also in working in, say, any regulatory authority, there can be a that can be a conflict of interest. Similarly, if a director is on, say, on RTO board, and at the same time is also on the industry which is a kind of influencing the course, that can be in a conflict of interest. Or that can be a conflict of interest where a publisher company's senior management person or affiliate is also on the RTO's board of director, or in a position, if not even in, not the board of director, if is in a position to influence and make them purchase their, regardless whether those are compliant resources or not, that is also a conflict of interest. So all governance and operations related conflict of interests must be avoided at the first place. And if for some odd reason they do exist, they should be made documented on paper. And once they are on paper, the rules should be designed in such a way that that dual role where, personal opinion, conflict of interest primarily is where your personal interests somehow influence your organizational interests. So you need to come up with policies that ensure the two are kept separate. And once those rules, standards are set, then a person who may be having more than one position can ensure that he or she operates within those rules to avoid any conflicts of interest or influence of one interest over the other. As far as students under 18 years of age is concerned, RTOs need to ensure that their policies are aligned with the national principles for the child safe organizations, and they identify, monitor, and review risks to those students and ensure their well-being. I think it is also provided in much more detail later. Standard 4.4, it is about RTOs undertaking systematic monitoring and evaluation of the organization's support, quality, delivery, and continuous improvement services. Performance indicator 8 has a system. It demands RTOs to have a system in place for monitoring and evaluating its performance with the requirements set out in these standards, and any other compliance requirements such as made under Section 185 of the Act. Elaborating on it, I can talk about child safe standards primarily aims to protect children and young people by requiring the organizations to put in place policies and procedures to prevent and respond to any potential abuse. Australian framework for the same purpose. In other words, safety of young people and underage. that their safety is there. In other words, the safety and well-being of the children and youth is need to be embedded in the leadership. Plus, children and young people also need to be informed about their rights, involve them or let them participate in the policies or decision making which affect them directly, and their rights must be taken seriously. Sorry. Uh, Reinforce importance of regular governance meetings and risks audits, including child safety risk based on the content and delivery mode. Having said that, moving to the final slide, standard 4.4 and performance criteria B and C, where the first one is about the outcome derived from the monitoring and evaluating its performance are used to inform continuous improvement. In other words, whatever monitoring, evaluating, and receiving feedback has provided information to the RTO's management, they must document them in their continuous improvement register and subsequently take actions based on them to further keep in that process of continuous improvement. The section C of the 4.4, it demands to have a mechanism in place to lawfully collect and analyze data, including any feedback from the students, staff, vet regulator, state or territory training authorities, and employers of current or former vet students. So this is the framework from where the RTOs are required to take feedbacks. So let me repeat, whether they are their students, their staff, regulators, with or without the audits, state and territory training authorities, and employers of current or former vet students, because all of these feedbacks will help you or will point towards the possible improvements in different areas. So the more you seriously take those feedbacks and act accordingly and timely, adjusting your policies to ensure those identified areas are well looked after or addressed properly, the better it will be. I can say that the more you look after this particular feedback area from everyone, the better it is. And I would rather even go a step further to advise that if you could engage or create industry panels in your RTOs and collect, even if they meet once a year, collect their feedback regarding your courses which are being delivered, and the training and assessment strategies getting developed, the assessment mechanism, the placement hours, all any area where those industry experts can help you improve your training and assessment, the better it is going to be for you. So with that, I will end my session today. And once again, in the next vlog, I will cover the schedule 1, 2, and 3 of these RTO Standards 2025. And hopefully you are also going to learn in that area. And those especially who are either replacing or newly getting registered, they will understand the role and requirements of the fit and proper person. So till then, all the best and take care. Thank you.